So, hey guys, today we're going to go over a deck I specifically hate. So, today we're going through Mathmech and just the Mathmech kind of pile. So, the idea here is pretty simple. A lot of your cards are going to turbo out and kind of search for Mathmech Circular, and you also have one of the Firewall cards. Don't remember which one because they're like two that are relevant for this. There's like the Fencer and then the other one. So yeah, we have those two guys as starters, and then we have Circular, you have Silent Mining and whatnot, Small World. So this deck just irritates me because of how it functions. So basically, the idea here is you're running a bunch of one-card starters, and then you're just running a whole just lot of hand traps, and that's basically the deck, where you have a bunch of one-card starters that essentially get you into your Mathmech quote-unquote combo, where you essentially just Laplation on your opponent's turn. You also have Firewall, Dragon, Terahertz, whatever that guy's name is. So you have the effect to draw as well with Eat Soul, and that's about the whole deck really. And then next turn, or if you're going second technically, you just do a OTK line. Basically, you have two real options where they're kind of annoying, I guess. You have access code, and then you have the firewall guy again. So yeah, here you have terahertz, which can send multiplication, and then this just boosts your damage by a lot, and you basically just one punch your opponent, kinda, I guess. And same deal with access code, where you can one punch your opponent with kinda the access code as well. Similar-ish idea where you can, well, it depends on the exact build, but yeah, you can do, what's it called, update jammer access code OTK. And now the thing that is really annoying about this deck is this deck does not play beyond turn 1 and 2, essentially. So turn 1, you're going to set up your board, and then you're going to like do your thing to stop your opponent's combo, and then turn 3, it's OTK. So if you do not OTK on turn 3, you pretty much lose. That's pretty much how the deck works, because there is nothing that your deck actually does after turn 3, and that is going to be because your interactions are limited, like consumable items in this deck build, basically. So with the Mathmech cards, they don't recycle themselves or anything. So you have a 1 of Super Factorial that's going to drop a Laplation. And this Laplation is going to be made with Diamond, which makes that monster an Omni Negate during that turn and that turn alone. And also is like hand rip, removal, whatever. And then what happens on a later turn with this card? It does nothing. It becomes worse than a Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's just terribly weak. It's 2k. There are normal summons that this cannot deal with, like Ariane and some other Labyrinth cards. You can just set them, and then this can never get over it. How depressing is that? And then after you have like your firewall access code removed, you don't really have a play. So specifically, how the OTK works is you usually link climb and stuff with transcode. And the idea is mostly that you can just bring back transcode with this G Golem card here. Let's see if we can find it real quick. We have G Golem Crystal Heart, which can bring back a Earth Link monster. And then after you've done this, that has essentially gone through your entire extra deck, and you have no more cards in your extra deck that do anything. So if you were to take out, I guess in this case it'd be like access code, this Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid, and the G Golem Crystal Heart, more or less, after you've taken out these 3 cards, which you can effectively do this in one Torrential Tribute, technically. or something like that. I guess Nibiru would also work. But yeah, after you've dealt with these guys, what is your opponent left with? They're left with this subpar main deck that does literally nothing, and they have some hand traps sprinkled in. So if I were to just like, what's the worst normal summon we could run here? You know what? We'll go with this. Okay. Yeah, Gemini Elf. If I literally normal summon Gemini Elf, this deck just ceases to function. So, in other words, this deck can actually legitimately lose to a Goat deck. Just imagine activating Waboku on this, and then Raigeki on a later turn, and then normal summoning Gemini Elf. That beats this deck straight up. Like, how crazy is this? Like, hell, we can even normal summon the arguably worse version of Gemini Elf because it can't attack the turn it is summoned. We can just normal summon Tomb Gemini Elf and they'll lose. Because coincidentally, the stat line is big enough to beat over Ash Blossom Joy Spring. Because that does matter, surprisingly enough, because you still need to be able to win. Somehow, kind of. But also, if you were to just set a card and then wait for deck out, you know, that's not technically well, I mean, that technically is an option. It's just not very fast. I guess we'll put it that way. So yeah, I mean, this you just drop this once, you're done. I guess access code. This either wins the game or it does nothing. Same with kind of like Dark Fluid after a point. And then the deck does absolutely nothing because it has absolutely no semblance of grind game whatsoever. It does not really run many extra deck boss monsters per se, I'd argue. You have like these two mostly, and then after the access code plus the Firewall Dragon here, you have a hot load of nothing. And you have nothing to make with your main deck anymore. And of course, going first and going second, the playstyle is basically still hand trap spam, regardless. So you hand trap spam your opponent, then you OTK. Or you hand trap spam your opponent and then OTK with no combo. That's basically it. That's the difference between going first or second, is like if you do a combo and then do the OTK or not. And that is basically how the Mathmech Cyber Spile works, which is not that much more interesting than stun, honestly, where going first, you do nothing, you just summon a floodgate, and then going second, you scoop it. It's pretty one note, really. And in my opinion, like, to an extent, this deck is a lot, well, it leaves a lot to be desired. It's a bit too simple in its approach. And you load all of your, well, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, you basically only focus on the first 3 turns of the duel, and you have no concern for any turn after this, which allows you to lose the deck like Paleo, for example, randomly. Because why wouldn't you lose the Paleo randomly, I suppose? Like, if we do Dynamiscus on Dark Fluid, that's enough to put an insane hamper on these plans. It's basic. Because you don't actually necessarily even have follow-up. Like, you're not even guaranteed follow-up to make the Crystal Heart here in just the combo line normally. It's not guaranteed at all. As wild as that sounds. And of course, if we think about how the combo works as well, the combo's a bit uninteractive with certain hand traps, so you can tank a lot of hand traps for some reason. Because Mathmech Circular sends a guy that you can special summon for cost, so we can even do like, let's say we have Magically Appaloosa, turn 1, Circular effect, send, negate, Circular, normal summon Circular, effect of Sigma, you negate that. Next turn, there's still the effect of Sigma, still the effect to search with Circular, which is something. But, you know, either way, it takes 2 negates essentially to stop Circular. Just, if they're monster negates, if you have negate then destroy, that would be a little bit better, preventing Circular from being summoned in the first place, but you still have Sigma and still have a normal summon, so we could even do like, assuming you get Gamma on this, there is Special Summon Sigma, Normal Summon Ash Blossom, Link off for Almirage, and then go into Splash Mage and continue from there. The Mathmech combo, which I think is pretty horrendous. That is to say, I'm not a big fan, I guess. If you were able to special summon something, I guess like Parallel Lexi, that would be even better, allowing you to still use the circular searches and still normal summon Diameter. Which I guess I hate at this point. Not a really big fan of this one. So, this list, you're doing literally the exact same combo every single time. There's no deviation in what the deck does, like, at all. So there's no flexibility. And there are a lot of things you can do to throw them off their game plan and make it unwinnable. So we have the idea of, like, floodgates, because you got back row removal that you can access in the main deck without going into your extra deck. So something like if I were to drop a macro or fissure, got any game plans for that? Nope. Nothing here. What if I don't have a combo deck? What if I have just a full-on back row deck just in general? Don't really got anything for that either, because it's laughably easy to remove like a single access code talker or a dark fluid. In fact, you know, if I set 5 cards and I get to draw a 6th card, right? It's pretty easy to deal with this. Like, I would argue, at least. Hell, you aren't even that well off against a Raigeki necessarily. You have Dark Fluid effect to send to Sevworm, which can negate, I guess, at least a single Raigeki, but, you know, throw on 2 Raigeki effects, and then your biggest monster becomes 1500, more or less. So that is to say, I absolutely hate this deck, and I hate that it's no grind game. I hate that as it does only the same combos every single time. Like the OTK line's the same, the combo line is the exact same. If you get hand trapped, you're basically just throwing another monster on the board and then continuing with the same combo, which is, I guess, another reason to kind of hate Link monsters, where if you were to, I guess, with this deck in particular, like, you just drop an extra monster if I stop Splash Mage effect to make Transcode Talker and then continue from there, right? But if I were to be playing, let's say, P.U.N.K as of currently, let's say you stop my Xiamen effect, I could still put an 8 on field, technically, like what we'll say Foxy Tune, and then we can go into the Amazing Dragon, and then we can bring back one of these guys, and then we can use that with, for example, Sharakusai to then go into Rising Carp, and then we can make Jam Fever on top of the Amazing Dragon to protect the effect of, I guess, Rising Carp, right? We have that absurd idea. If it comes up. And also going second, I can make Amazing Dragon to kind of try to bounce my opponent's card effects, and then if that doesn't pan out, I can still convert it into a Jam Fever later. And now we compare that line to, I put a monster on the board, and then I'll link it off for the actual monster with effects. Like the guys I'm actually summoning, they don't really do anything, but the guy I put from my extra deck, we summon this guy, and he summoned other guy from extra deck. That's kind of how it feels, I guess. I much prefer like a more dynamic, flexible extra deck that actually does a little bit more here. We even have like a few other ideas with P.U.N.K as well, which make him a little bit more interesting than this. Like, for example, with this Amazing Dragon, we can do the effect of, like, assuming I'm playing into a board here, we have the idea of going Chainlink 2, or not, yeah, Chainlink 2, Xiamen, Chainlink 1, Amazing Dragon, to then bounce my opponent's card, right? And then meanwhile for this, it's like, damn, you stopped my guy, I special summon another guy. Damn, you removed that guy too? I special summon yet another guy. And you have nothing else? Okay, I will now just keep summoning guy until I summon guy that win game, which feels a lot more lackluster than this, where we have ideas here and things we can kind of do, and also like the level matters. So it's like, okay, I might use this to kind of bait this out here, because like my card here actually matters because I need a tuner specifically to make this, and ideally I want Xiamen here because Xiamen can chain block this. If I use like Madame Spider instead, this has no graveyard effect to chain block. For example, we'll say my opponent's Apollosa. Meanwhile, we have here, the idea is basically, I use effect, you negate with Appo. Okay, I use another effect. Oh, no more Appo negates. Now I'll just make my guys, basically. It's just one note, kind of boring. Yeah, this just really doesn't do it for me, I guess. I would much prefer, like, just using the tools you're given and being able to use them in interesting kind of ways. Hell, even Snake Eye could be more interesting than this because you at least have like Subversion, which is something, Like, if you're being pretty cracked with it, I think you could just, yeah, you can just technically chain block with original Sinful. So here's an idea, right? Let's say I have in the back row we'll go with, it could be Flambridge Dragon. Well, it couldn't be this card anymore, but we could have a Popular on the field or in the back row. We can tribute that with original Sinful, and then we can summon a Poplar, and then Poplar can chain block itself with the other Poplar, as weird as that sounds. So you can guaranteed add Subversion, and then you can Subversion target like an Apollosa, but your strategy with this deck is literally to activate effects basically until your opponent cannot activate Apo, or you just draw an out for Apo. And that's your plan, because your deck basically does nothing, I guess. Do we have any ideas of chain blocking? Nope. Do we have any ideas of perhaps like certain requirements to make certain extra deck monsters? Nope. All of these are pretty much generic, except for like maybe the Mathmech guys. So yeah, that's pretty absurdly lame. And I've even seen some people playing kaijus at one point, and then scooping, realizing, oh, I can't activate Transcode Tucker because I summoned a non-Cyberus monster, specifically special summoned one. Oopsie poopsie, I guess. Although you did put the kaijus in your deck, it's not like I gave you a kaiju or anything, just throwing that out there. I've seen that happen, like, multiple times, so if you face me and you've done this, like, know at least you're not the only one who's done this, somehow. And it was all in a somewhat high rank, from what I remember, every single time. It's crazy. I guess Nibiru is still okay, because at least you're not summoning that on your own turn, unless you are. But yeah. This deck, it feels unfun, and it just has no real creativity in it. And I kind of feel that way for Sword Soul as well, and quite a few other decks where they just don't have any form of creativity because of how streamlined their combo is, and how the combo's uninteractive. But at least like there's still ideas of still chain blocking properly, I guess, with Moyi. And if you really think about it, you naturally want to, like, regardless of just chain blocking the Qixia, you always want to kind of like naturally use the Moyi as Chainlink 2, because as you'll quickly learn, like, Qixia is going to be able to add you a Sword Soul card, right? But you can draw that card with Moyi, and you choose the search target on resolution, so you're naturally inclined to make the better play of going Moyi Chainlink 2 and then Qixia Chainlink 1. So, like, for example, my original intent might be to search Blackout, but if I draw Blackout with Moyi, then I can search a different card. Like, we can search follow-up for another turn with Emergence, or a continuation play with maybe Sacred Summon, potentially, as an idea, right? And that's still a little bit more interesting than whatever this Mathmech deck does. And then if we at least look at the Ignister deck, it has like some sequencing stuff, which is more interesting. Where it's like sometimes you sequence the combo this way, sometimes you sequence it a different way. But yeah, with this deck, it's literally the exact same combo, the exact same way, pretty much, and that's the deck for you. And if you're going second, you're just doing the turn 3 combo essentially. So you have 2 combos and you're just doing those combos over and over again. Like, how do you not get sick of this? That's all I'm saying, bro. Like, as a combo player, I prefer my combos to not be exactly the same every single time. I mean, I'm interested in the journey as well. It's not just about the end destination. The journey matters too, and how you go about that journey. And this to me feels like, well, how would I describe this? It just feels terrible. You're just doing the same thing over and over again in the exact same way. Just, yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like necessarily you need to be the one playing it. Like, it could be anyone, and it would be sequenced the same, really. I prefer, I guess, to an extent, like decks to be more personalized, and that's just something I'm more a fan of. Like, for example, if we're playing, well, it's not necessarily Sword Soul, but like with Centurion, I've seen, even though that deck is kind of simplistic, that there are a lot of techs that you can surprisingly do with Centurion. So there is a lot more versatility in this, and some of the personality gets through, kind of, not like, and the your opponent's playstyle, you can kind of tell what they're doing. You can understand where they're going with things, but you don't know like 100% where they're going because there's still like other ideas, like a lot of ideas and different routes they could take. Maybe some people would take like a different route from what you might take potentially as well, which I find kind of interesting here. And then we have activate circular, summon Sigma. We're going to affect a search here with circular. Then we're going to make Alimbertion. Alimbertion adds diameter. Normal summon diameter. Like, I've seen this exact same combo, exact same line every single time, basically. And the one the one other variation. Wow, how exciting is this? Is I think you can open like what's his face, microcoder, and then you can like do an extra link summon or something, or use the microcoder from your hand as material or something to make, I guess it'd probably be transcode. Or would it be transcode? Yeah, I don't really care. I don't think it really matters, does it? Well, either way, you make a guy with microcoder, and then this grabs you Signet Conflict, which is an Omni Negate. This is about as spicy as the combo gets. Meanwhile, in Punk, I could be summoning a Gimmick Puppet Fanatics Machinex, and then searching a rank of magic. And then we have, the most exciting thing I got in this deck, this Mathmech deck, I'm gonna link off for a microcoder in my hand and add an additional Omni Negate. Cool. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. And honestly, I should just make a why I hate link summoning in general kind of video at some point. Well, when we look at like a quote-unquote link combo deck, this is basically the expectation, where it's just a boring deck that does one combo that's completely just one note and does the same thing every single time. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.